Hello guys, and welcome to the White Rabbit Trading Channel. And welcome to the new month. Let's dive into the fresh monthly open and check the updated average levels for July. As always, we're going to take a look at the historical data and combine it with high time frame levels to prepare ourselves for what could come next. Historically, July tends to close more positively than negatively, with nearly 65% of the previous Julys ending in the green. Now, that doesn't guarantee it will repeat, especially this time, since we not only have a new monthly open, but also a fresh quarterly and half-year candle. That makes this month particularly important. It opens the door for potential deviations. Maybe we don't get a typical July. For example, we might see a deeper move down to form a higher low on the monthly or weekly time frame, before any significant continuation to the upside. That's one possible scenario, and we want to be prepared for it. Now let's talk about the average moves. If Bitcoin were to close July negatively based on historical averages of a 7% to 8% drop, that would bring the price down below the 100K level, around 99K to 97K. However, the bearish wick formations for July tend to be between 4% and 8%. That means even if the month ends negatively, price might first rise before heading lower. A 4% to 8% wick to the upside before closing down would actually mean a new all-time high could be hit, ranging from around 111.8K to even 116K. This gives us a lot of room to the upside before any potential bearish close. On the flip side, if July ends up closing positively, the median wick is usually about 6%, and the average wick is closer to 12%. That would suggest Bitcoin might first dip to around 100K to 96K or even as low as 93K before bouncing higher. Now, based on other statistical charts and recent conditions, this outcome seems a bit less likely, but it's still on the table. And for me personally, that wouldn't be a reason to panic. On the contrary, it would be a possible opportunity. As long as those levels hold, I'll treat them as areas of interest for long setups. So let's look at this from a macro perspective. The average gain for July historically sits around 16% to 17%. That would bring us to roughly 125K if it plays out cleanly. Of course, it's only an average. But we've seen how accurately those stats can align, especially during breakouts. However, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a move down first before any real rally. If that's the case, maybe we don't hit that upper target this month, and that's perfectly fine. What matters is that we stay patient and prepared, watching price and waiting for confirmation rather than trying to predict every move. Let's talk timing now. Historically, highs for July are often formed in the second half of the month, on average around the 18th or 19th day. That gives us a key window to focus on for a possible top. On the other hand, the lows tend to form earlier, on average around day 10 or 11. And in some past Julys, the low formed very early, even in the first week. This makes the first 2 weeks crucial for observing price behavior. Ideally, I'd like to see a move down early in the month, which could create a great setup later. But we don't always get the perfect setup, so I'll adjust if things just range or move sideways. Either way, having this timing context gives us an edge in planning. Let's check out some key levels. The average wick levels for bullish closes are very close to major high time frame support zones. First, there's a weekly SR level aligning with the monthly median wick zone. That will be my first area of interest. Below that, we have a previous monthly low that lines up with a volume point of control for the macro range, and also the old monthly breaker, another important level. If price moves even lower, we're looking at a quarterly order block just underneath. That's a highly significant level. If it fails, then I believe the 72K low won't hold, if you know what I mean. That's just my view, not financial advice, but that's how I plan. To the upside, if price rises from here, I'll be watching for an SFP. If that SFP happens early in the month, I won't necessarily treat it as the high of the month, because statistically, highs form later. So even if we make a new high now, I would still expect some kind of pullback or chop before a bigger breakout. The key is not to overanalyze everything. Focus on one move at a time and prepare zones in advance. My HTF zones of interest remain below 100K. If we reach them, I'll be ready. If not, I'll stick to day trades from local support and resistance. Now on to local levels. There's clear resistance around 109K. If we reclaim it, I'll watch the highs above for SFPs or deviation plays. To the downside, we have a 12-hour order block and swing low that I'm monitoring. I may look for an SFP there, but only treat it as a scalp or day trade for now. That's because we're still testing 12H structure and the 4H is currently bearish. So I need to see a market structure shift to aim for anything bigger. Until then, I'll just target potential lower highs. If we do bounce here, I'll take partial profits and let the rest ride toward the next resistance zone. But if this support fails, I'll watch how the daily closes. It's an HTF support, so price could still chop around for a bit. If we lose it, though, it flips into resistance and opens the path to the lower zones of interest I mentioned earlier. Until then, I'll treat support as support and just trade within this range. That wraps up the update. I hope it gave you some value. Quick reminder, I have a Patreon where I go into more detail every day. I do 1 to 2 hour morning streams breaking everything down, and on the weekend I stream the full monthly statistics session. I also shared my monthly stats spreadsheet, feel free to use it. And soon, I'll release a trading journal where you can track setups, mistakes, performance, and get statistics to improve your edge. It's easy to use, just input the data, and it'll calculate your win rate, total P/L, and show you what setups are working best. So if you want to take your trading more seriously and dive deeper, you're very welcome to join. First subscribers get a discounted price, and later when more content is added, it will increase. Hope to see you there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.